Okay, I've already given you a hint. Okay, try to draw a picture of KDD and include it as one essential part in your revision. Okay, and I also hope you understand data mining is generally a very big combination of many different subjects or academic or professional disciplines. Okay, most of the time, if you simply just focus on one single area, you can hardly become a data scientist. Alright? From this picture, you can understand the much bigger horizon. You need to understand something related to database, statistics, visualizations, computer program design, coding, algorithm, pattern recognition, and machine learning. All those, when combined together, can help you, better prepare the career of being a data scientist. Okay? So most probably, from this picture once again, you can better understand the overlapping areas of data mining with other subjects. Okay? As I mentioned before, I always try to compare statistics, machine learning, and data mining or knowledge discovery. This PowerPoint slide tells you the exact details, but generally speaking, I won't recommend all of you to memorize the details. Try to reproduce this yourself. We studied maths before, and in this semester you are going to learn data mining. I suppose you can understand the major differences between these two different disciplines. Okay? Now, let's talk about the data quality issues. In the exam, I don't think that would become so straightforward to simply ask you the data quality problems, what are they, etc. Okay, just because that is too straightforward. Most of the time, I don't think the exam board would prefer having exam questions like this. So generally speaking, you are going to handle a case, right? From the case, can you really find out something related to data quality problems? Okay? Most of the time, let's guess, okay? Data quality problem would generally appear with a company having a long history. Am I correct? If you simply just start up your company the last week, okay, and you won't have sufficient data to be classified as problematic ones, okay, just because you haven't served the company long enough. So most probably, if you serve the company for a very long period of time, there can be a large numbers of applications implemented before. 4 generations to another generation, generally speaking, you can spot out a large numbers of data quality problems. Okay? Data quality problem can be studied by referring to the following discipline. Are those things accurate, complete, or consistent? Okay? These 3 attributes are very important. Most of the time, problematic data may not become accurate, and only parts of the facts will be reflected. And most of the time, you can have redundant storage of the problematic data. Something here, something there. When you are going to consolidate them together, and then you will feel very puzzled, just because you have no ways to believe which one is true, which one will be false. Am I correct? So in that situation, you can emerge in the case. Okay? If you really want to ask me for the hints, I can try to help you in this way. Think about the situation just like Hong Kong U. CTU may also be classified in such a case, just because CTU has already existed here for more than 30 years. So most of the time, I think different departments has already recorded large numbers of different things, right? Those things will be stored separately in different departments. So if you are going to consolidate them together, you will always find a large numbers of difficulties, okay? And if you are going to consolidate them together, you need to figure out which parts could have the record accurately and completely stored, and which one may not become, the things you really need to know. So that is the reasons why consolidating, integrating the data will become very much a hurdle, okay? Other attributes contain timeliness and whether the things will be believable or not. Okay? Some of the data may not updated timely. For example, if I want to perform a monthly analysis, okay, the monthly analysis of a bank account should be done before or after the office hour of the last day. Think about this, and then you can understand. Most of the time, okay, within the office hour, the transactional database should be updated timely enough. And after 5 p.m., that means the closure of the daily business, right? All the data should be updated good enough, okay? Then you are going to kickstart the process for you to do the, for example, banking statement production, okay? But some of the jobs may not be timely finished. It costs you a lot of time to finish. So during that typical moment, you need to pay attention to whether the monthly or daily statement production should be rescheduled after all the daily jobs has been finished. Otherwise, I think maybe most probably you are going to use some not yet updated data for you to do the consolidation, okay? Then you need to make sure whether the sources of the data should be trustworthy or not, okay? These criteria can help you think about the problem so-called the data quality. Next one, whether the things can be interpreted or not. That means how easily the data can be understood. Some of you prefer storing the data using numeric context, just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Sometimes 1 means, for example, China, 2 means United States, 3 means Japan, etc. If you record the contents like this, and I think nobody can easily understand. Okay? Typically, when you want to communicate with different departments, so that is the reasons why when you are going to talk about data quality problems, make sure you have already adjusted this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different dimensions. Okay, from this page you can find out some of the major sources of data quality problems. But this checklist may not become exhaustive enough. Okay? So most of the time I just simply recommend you are going to think about a typical case study, just like CTU, Hong Kong U, or even HSBC. Okay? And if you can refer to a company having a long working history, most of the time I think lot deals of the data quality problems can be found there. Okay? Different standards are available. Okay? So most of the people cannot well consolidate the data they have already produced. To the worst case, in some of the situations, they even don't have any standards. They simply just want to do everything they prefer to do. So under that situation, communication is always a problem. Okay? Different standards for different system development at different stages. This would be, a commonly found problem in organization with a long history. I think some of you has already have the information about renewing your Hong Kong ID card. Am I correct? I'm going to renew my one. Okay? Very, very shortly. So you can easily understood this situation. Okay? More than 20 years ago, the older generations of the system related to Hong Kong ID card renewal were produced. Okay? But recently, they are going to update the system once again. So the data, okay, related to the old system and the new system will not become compatible. So when you are going to do the migration from the old one to the new one, and I think the immigration departments must ensure the smooth transition. I hope everything is fine, right? But some of the reports, okay, my friend told me before, would be something like this, right? If you have the experience for using your Hong Kong ID card in the airport, okay, you need to insert the Hong Kong ID card into a machine. The machine will read your fingerprint, okay, and then the gate will open. This simply signals the completion of the procedure required for you to leave Hong Kong. Okay? The newer ID cards may have the compatibility problem with the machine reading your ID card. Okay? So that is the reasons why from old to new, the migration would always become problematic. And during that situation, I think what fields of the data quality problems may surface. Right? I just demonstrated an example for you to know how to learn. Relate the things you have already learned here to some of the real life cases you encounter in your daily life. Then I think learning about data mining or even IT related subjects will become much more easier. Okay? Cannot integrate easily due to data complexity. I mean format and resources and limited resources. That means whether the project would have spare capacity or not for you to do, or do away the data quality problem. Okay? There are some of the examples here, and I think once again you don't need to 100% reproduce this example. As long as you can understand the data quality problem, you can use any examples you prefer. This is a page talking about the same subjects. Okay? This page also contains other major sources of data quality problem. Changes, short project duration, and human mistakes are always, you may say, miraculous. Changes cannot be avoided just because from time to time changes are always going to happen. Okay? But most of the time, typically, to my own understanding, just because I work like an IT professional for so long, most of the projects will not have any luxury. Okay? You need to finish most of the projects within a very short period of time. And data quality problems are always caused under that situation. If you can finish a project on time, that's already very good. So nobody would care about whether the data will be produced in a quality manner or not, right? In other words, this can be sacrificed. I'm not going to say this is correct. This is awfully wrong. But in the reality, I suppose most of you can understand, just like when you are going to finish your project, you need to finish most of the thing within a short period of time, okay? And the cosmetic of your project may become one of the things you're going to sacrifice. That means you have no time to prettify the appearance of your project, okay? I mean the report. So under that situation, data quality problems will always exist from time to time. And that can cost you a lot of resources for you to fix sometime later. After several generations of the system, or after several generations of the people working inside the organization, I think nobody will still remember the things to be done, okay? Some years ago, why the data contents would exactly look like this. So that's the reason why those problems would pass from one generation to another. And that's the reason why IT practitioners always want to write off the system, okay, produced by the others when they come into the place. And of course, by doing something like this, everything needs to be redo once again. So that's the situation we always need to avoid. Okay? In general, data problems can drain your greatest effort in any situation. Doing data pre-processing is the most important part. Nowadays, I think data mining is very, very easy. Just like using Vika, it is just several keystrokes away. But if you need to make the data files available that can be accepted by using the data mining software, that can be several miles away. You cannot compare the efforts most of the time. So that is the reasons why data pre-processing, data cleansing will always consume most of the resources. Okay? But the management may not well appreciate this situation. So that is the reasons why many data problems remain unresolved. Okay? Those are the things related to the data mining background. There are still a large number of things haven't been mentioned yet. So that is the reasons why data quality problem will become tip of an iceberg, just a tip of the iceberg. Many different issues can be related to data quality problem. But from my case, I generally help you focus to see the related issues in doing project management. Okay? So that is the reasons why I think these two different checklists can enable you to have a number of options available. As long as you can more or less memorize several, okay? Several data quality problems and the corresponding reasons and most probably the solution, I think that's already good enough. I repeat once again, it is meaningless to reproduce all the things you have already seen, okay, in this PowerPoint slide just because I simply cannot, okay, assume, okay, you guys can memorize all the things available, okay? So understanding will become important. Okay, let's look at some of the essential solutions to different types of the problems. Okay, one of the essential data quality problem would be the missing values. So you need to think about how to fill up those missing values. Okay, if you can see a problem, you either fix the problem or ignore the problems. Those are the highest levels of the guideline. Okay, if you can fix. If you cannot fix, ignore. Okay, those are the essential guidelines for you to deal with the data quality problems. Okay, those are just some of the problems I'm going to mention. You either eliminate or estimate the missing values, okay, or ignore, or replace with something you think you trust. Okay, so sometimes if you are going to deal with missing value, maybe you can use an algorithm for you to find out the weighted average or the means of some of the from the existing collection of the data to deduce whether some of the missing value can be filled up with your best guess value. Okay. In doing statistical analysis, I think that is acceptable. Just because I've read some of the textbook talking about exactly these kinds of things, you are going to smooth out the missing value by best guessing. But in doing data mining, most of the time, I don't think this is absolutely necessary. Okay, you can simply just ignore all those problems. But of course, the proportion of the missing value should be generally very low. If, for example, over 50% of the required values are missing, this will become an exceptional case. So that is the reasons why, okay, you cannot 100% trust the things you are going to read from the textbook. Use your common sense, okay, to judge under that typical situation. This typical page tells you something related to the reasons why data is not always available. Just because when you want to record the things, the respondent may not timely give you the things you want. So that is the reasons why some of the data columns may still remain empty. Equipment problems may be one of the reasons, okay? But most of the time, I don't think business data mining will be related to some of the sensors. But if you are going to do scientific data mining, this will become a typical case, okay? Just like the recording of the temperature, light intensity, humidity, etc. Those readings will be produced by the sensors installed inside a typical building. All the electronic sensors will produce errors. So that is the reasons why the equipment malfunction will become one of the important concerns. Okay? In order to solve this typical problem, generally I can suggest some very easy way. Nobody will restrict you to install a fixed numbers of sensors. Okay? So having resilient, that means redundant sensor to be installed, for example, inside this room, is always recommended. Okay? In technical context, we generally refer to the situation as prevention of single point of failure. Okay? A single sensor can fail, right? With a certainty of, for example, 30% of the time. But if you are going to have one more installed, the overall failure rate will become much lower. How about the third? How about the fourth? If you can have a numbers of them to back up each other, most of the time I don't think a single failed device would jeopardize the entire situation. So those would be the solutions. But that typical solutions haven't been recorded inside any course material. So that is the reasons why common sense can really help. Okay, duplicated data. That may be one of the most difficult problem to resolve. You need to differentiate whether the data is polluted by some of the known sources or not. But most of the time, just because of multiple different systems are available to serve more or less the same purpose, and that's the reasons why it will become very difficult to differentiate them. Okay, so the final sort for resolving this typical problem is to have human involved in the loop. Okay, hire some human agents to help screening and resolve any data problems. Okay, You can hardly use an algorithm or computer program to check, okay, these kinds of duplicated or polluted data, okay? Some of the data may contain one part of the things you really want to have, and another database contain another half, okay? So the computer may not have any intelligence about combine these kinds of things together. They're relying on our human intelligence to fix under that situation, okay? Data cleansing is always the most time-consuming, resource-hungry process. Writing a computer program to solve the superficial data quality problem is not too difficult, but most probably when you go deeply inside, using human agents is still much more preferable, okay? This page tells you why data is getting dirty, just because of a number of reasons, okay? For example, some of the data may not become available during the collections, okay? Hardware, humans, and software problems will always create a large number of data quality problems, just like the case of the Hong Kong ID card I just mentioned before, okay? For scientific data collections, I think the transmissions medium will also play a role, okay, in making the data dirty. Which one of you know, okay, how long it would take to transmit a single proton, that means the light particle, from the sun to Earth, okay? Go to the internet, go to Google and find out this. It can just make you feel very, very shocked. I've already forgotten the correct figures. It takes around several minutes. I'm not so sure I'm correct or not, okay? In fact, the vacuum space is the media. The proton is the light information going to transmit from sun to Earth, okay? This is very, very similar to understand the situation like this. If you are going to use radio signal to transmit your information from one place to another, the medium will always get the data dirty, okay? If you have some basic ideas about the radio transmission technology, you can have analog and digital technologies available, okay? Analog technologies are the classical one, okay? But most of the time, I think analog technologies are the most reliable one available, okay? If you are going to use digital technology, I think most of you can understand either 0 or 1 will be transmitted. Through the error correction, the correct information may be reconstructed, okay? When you go back home, look at your digital TV and then you can understand. Sometimes the digital TV may not display the images correctly due to the transmission error. And then the entire screen will become frozen. You need to restart the machine, okay, for you to continue to enjoy the TV program. But for analog signal, even under the situation having the errors, you can still hear something, of course, you don't understand, okay? So low technology will become 100% reliable, but when compared with digital technology, I think for long distance transmission, analog technology is still the most reliable one, okay? Make sure you understand why data is getting dirty by using this analogy, okay? When you want to transmit something from one place to another, the media will always have some problems to get the data become dirty, okay? So how to handle the missing data? Those are the things I mentioned before. Clearly, ignore, fill in something you think you trust, or fill in automatically with a global constant. An attribute means, right? I prefer this one just because that is possible for us to manually find them out, okay? But if you are going to fill in a weighted average from all the missing data, then you can hardly differentiate whether the data will be fixed by you or not, or whether this typical record contains legitimate data. I mean the content that is exactly legitimately equal to the average that means you calculate. So making the data once again dirty, that would become your own responsibility. So that is the reason why from the PowerPoint side I mentioned exactly like this. We are also the ones who are going to contaminate the data. Okay? Okay, let's see why data preprocessing is necessary. Okay, if you can understand the data quality problems, you can understand why data pre-processing is necessary. But data pre-processing should not be just limited to data cleansing. Always remember this. For those who study the data file format of Vika, should also understand Vika data file will have a header and a tail. Okay, the tail contains the actual data required for you to upload, but the header contains the meta information about the data. Okay, if you decide to use Vika when you are going to gather the data, for example, from the Census Department of Hong Kong government, only CSV will be available. Okay, CSV can be strictly uploaded to Vika without using ARFF format. Okay, but most of the time, I think using the native format, ARFF would be preferable, just because some of the features can only be available with ARFF. Okay. Other than this, of course, the tasks related to data cleansing will become important, right? You can find a number of examples here for you to understand the data pre-processing tasks, including, reformatting, data integration, and data cleansing. Remember, low quality data, low quality mining results in general, okay? But it doesn't mean that you must 100% fix all the problems before you can kickstart data mining, okay? Data mining simply just want to find out the patterns. If most of the data contains some minor errors, those minor errors may not become the focus on doing the data mining. You can simply ignore these kinds of things completely, okay? So that is the reasons why before you are going to do data mining, data warehousing should be performed first. You can have a central repository for you to centralize the task, just like pre-processing, cleansing, integration. Okay. After this, cleanse the data, which can ensure the quality can be made available for any analyst kickstart the data mining task required. If you just start everything, all at once, and I think you will feel very, very frustrated. Just because a simple data mining task will trigger the list to have data cleansing and data pre-processing. Before you can see the benefits, you need to deal with all those hurdles. So most of the companies simply failed in this situation to continue to do data mining. Okay? Those are the tasks related to data pre-processing, cleansing, integration, transformation, and data reduction. Okay? Data cleansing is the most important one. As the name implies, you are going to get rid of the dirty data by fixing all those data items. Okay? Data integration is to let you gather multiple different data sources, combine them together to make you see a much bigger picture, just like a well-centralized database, right? And I know this is very, very difficult, typically under a situation where most of the data sources are dirty, okay? If you kickstart a new venture, a company, maybe the people would have the ideas on their mind, okay? We need to have a centralized database from the beginning. Then most of the data quality problem will disappear after the inception of the company. But this typical concept didn't exist more than 30 years ago. So that would be 100% possible to find out a large numbers of data quality problems. Okay? In data integration, most of the time you are going to integrate the database schema from multiple different databases. Just like doing database modeling, you are going to draw out, some of the diagram describing the structure of the database tables. Those are not yet the areas addressed by most of you. Okay, those are the very, very much related to IT or database technicians. Okay. As long as we can have this basic concept, I think that would be good enough. In the exam, of course, database modeling will not be included. Okay, so you don't need to feel so much worry about that. Data reduction is very, very similar to doing sampling. Okay, when we are going to find out the patterns, most of the time we don't need to upload the entire data set into the computer memory for doing the processing. Okay. We may just feel interested about a subset of them, so that is the reasons why that is necessary to reduce the overall volume of the data to be uploaded to any data mining algorithm. Okay, if you don't believe, you can try yourself. If you can have millions of records available, I think the time required for doing the processing will become very long. Okay, so long that most of people cannot induce. Okay, I remember I told you this example before. We needed to use a military grade computer to do table joining. It takes more than 24 hours per day. Hold on, this is totally illogical. How come? Okay, we need to have or spend more than 24 hours per day to finish the job. In other words, that is a mission impossible. Just because we can hardly finish the integration job, okay, within a single day, that means, okay, more and more jobs will become accumulated without being resolved. Okay, so that is the reasons why data reduction will always become important. Make sure you understand the database content and only include the things required for doing the data mining. We don't need to upload everything. Okay, just like doing sampling or aggregation, only related and summarized data will be deleted. But of course, if you want to do the analysis down to the lowest level, we need to upload the transactional data to data mining algorithm. Of course, always remember there won't be free lunch for them. If you really need to do the analysis down to daily transactional level, this will be the price you need to pay. Okay, but most of the time, if we just want to know the trends of, for example, the transaction, we can focus on the summarized data for every single category of the products. We don't need to pay attention to the breakdown level down to customer granularity, right? That means the level. Okay, make sure you understand OLTP and OLAP from this typical table, okay, from multiple different criteria. Once again, in the exam, that's already too much for you to memorize all these dimensions. Usually, that would be the things you can find from the short question section, section A, okay? Then, maybe you are going to list some of the properties of OLTP and OLAP, alright? Once again, you can relate OLTP as POS, points of sales. Just like the system, you can spot out from a supermarket environment, okay? OLAP is something related to, for example, doing, once again, with pivot table, okay? So when you're going to compare transactions, handling system, and pivot table, you can produce a checklist like this. Okay, let's look at the concept of a data warehouse. That is nothing special. A data warehouse is also a database, but this database focuses on doing analysis.